Star athletes, led by boxing legend Mike Tyson, appealing to President Trump to change federal cannabis policies. Tyson joined us yesterday to make the case for rescheduling cannabis to a lower-risk controlled substance.
Scheduling from 1 to 3, you have to believe cannabis is in the same category as heroin. How do you categorize it with heroin? Anybody that ever smoked cannabis know there's no comparison. And that's just ridiculous. It's not a drug. It's a medicine. It's just not labeled as a medicine because we never use it.
But not everyone agrees with that assessment. Author and journalist Alex Berenson joins us now. Hey, Alex, thanks for coming on. Why do you disagree?
Well, look, cannabis in its smoke form, we don't smoke medicine in general. Tobacco is not a medicine. If you want to schedule cannabis lower to Schedule 3 on the theory that it's not as dangerous as heroin, obviously it's not as dangerous as heroin. Whether or not it should be federally legal is a totally different issue. A lot of states have experimented now with legalizing cannabis. We have about 15 years of data. It's not working very well. There's still a huge illegal market for cannabis in those legalized states. There's still a lot of violence around cannabis growth and sales in those states because a lot of people who use a lot of pot would rather just buy the cheapest available, and that's usually on the illicit market. We also, and I wrote a piece about this on Fox Digital and on my Substack today, have increasing evidence that cannabis really is dangerous. Cannabis and THC, they're linked to heart attacks, they're linked to strokes, they're linked to all kinds of severe mental illness. When I wrote this book, Tell Your Children, 6 years ago, there was a lot of pushback on the idea that cannabis could cause psychosis and in some cases a permanent psychotic disorder called schizophrenia, which is a terrible illness. And I would say that most scientists now agree that cannabis markedly raises the risk for schizophrenia, especially in people who are using it as teenagers. I understand that Mike Tyson wants to sell cannabis, he wants to sell THC, and I understand that the industry is in terrible shape right now. That's not my problem. It's not the federal government's problem.
Yeah, there were some points that a lot of our audience agreed on, that he was saying he wants to have clemency for nonviolent marijuana defenses. So he was saying yesterday, some people are behind bars for 25 years, and they live in a state that now has it's legal. What do you think?
Yeah, that's just a lie. I mean, there's essentially nobody in jail for nonviolent cannabis offenses at this point, not even in the South. In places like California and New York, that has not been true for decades. This is just a red herring that people throw out there. You have to be trafficking marijuana by the ton in a place like New York to do any jail time. That's been true for a long time. So no, look, this is about money for these entrepreneurs, and it's about this idea that you should be able to walk down the street smoking pot, which you're not allowed to walk down the street using alcohol in public. I mean, except in a couple places like New Orleans, it's not allowed, and there's good reasons for that. By the way, cannabis also it's terrible for driving. It turns out, if you look at states like Colorado that have legalized, there's been a tremendous number of increases in the number of fatal accidents involving cannabis.
All right, Alex, thank you so much for coming on. You bring up great points. You can check out his article. It's on foxnews.com now.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.